Welcome, everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Juliette Wolf-Robin, National Executive Director of American Photographic Artists. APA is a leading non-for-profit trade association of professional photographers working in commercial, advertising, editorial, and fine art. Now in our 41st year, APA continues to be run by photographers for photographers, volunteering, creating a community that advocates on behalf of all photographers. There's strength that comes from an organization and respected association, and APA members can leverage that. Together, we have a powerful voice. We also create programming to help inspire, educate, and promote our members. We have 8 chapters across the country that provide local programming and benefits, as well as national portfolio reviews, partner discounts, and photo competitions. You may have seen last week, Travis Keys, who's on the APA New York board, interviewed Platon. We also had Cassandra Plavukos, who's on the APA LA board, interviewing the photo curator from Getty Center, Paul Martineau. Paul is going to be judging the APA LA off the clock competition this year. So that opens up next week. So if you're interested in entering, you can come to the APA National site and enter that competition. They were truly inspiring talks. So if you missed them, you still have a chance. You can watch them. They are either on or will be on the APA's YouTube channel, which is under American Photographic Artists. If you look up that YouTube channel, you can find those conversations. Really worth going to look at. You can also find out about all our upcoming talks, our programming, by signing up for our newsletter. If you go to apanational.org, put in your email address, get our newsletter, follow us on social media, and better yet, you could join APA. We would welcome you to be part of APA. Our mission is your success. So please join APA. It really is so much more powerful when we all work together. Today's program is produced by Darcie Adler and the APA Atlanta chapter. Darcie is on the board of APA Atlanta, and she has done so much to bring the community together. She is a founder of The Spin Style, a full-service creative agency that represents art directors, set designers, wardrobe stylists, prop stylists, and hair and makeup artists. Take a look at her site. It's The Spin Style, thespinstyle.agency. We treasure her, and we really appreciate her and all the panelists who are here today. It is a volunteer organization, and we really appreciate how people come together to participate. So thank you, and thank you those of you who have come to watch today. I will pass it to Darcie to introduce you to today's panelists.
Juliette, thank you. You're so gracious. I really appreciate it. Hi, everyone. First of all, I want to say hi to everyone who's joining us so far. I see lots of familiar names: John Fulton, Brittany Wages, Dean Turpin, Mark Hill. So many great people are joining. We've got people joining from all over the US, which is really nice. Stephanie Ely. Hi, Risha. Oh, Quitzy. So good to see you guys. I just wanted to say hi and welcome. I know people will continue to join over the next few minutes. It'll take a little while till we're all here. So before I introduce our panel, I don't want everyone to miss out on that part. I'm going to read a little preliminary about what we're talking about today, and then we'll get into the introduction. So bear with me here for a moment. Working as a photographer, stylist, or freelance solopreneur has many benefits, but you can also end up feeling disheartened, inadequate, and misunderstood. All of this is problematic, not just for your mood, but also for your business. When you feel isolated and insecure, your motivation will deplete and your energy will repel authentic connection and thus promising opportunities. If your energy is depleted, you will inevitably not shine on sales calls and in the end drive away interest. On the flip side, when you are feeling on top of the world, nothing can stop you. Your productivity will be at full capacity and you will be enjoying every moment of it. When you're on set, you need to be connected with both your client and your art. And as we all know, this is not simple or easy to accomplish. It takes the right mindset to balance all of these requirements. When is the best time to develop engaging marketing material? Is it when you're excited about what you want to share, or when you feel blah about the whole industry and wonder why you're still here? How could a shift in mindset make all the difference in the success of what you create? There's no question having a positive and encouraging mindset is critical when you are your own business. Today, we will be sharing relatable stories and effective tools that can take you from being forgettable to being someone clients and colleagues want to be around and do business with. So as Juliet said, I'm Darcie Adler. I'm the founder and creative director of the Spin Style agency. I represent and manage creatives of all ages, and I am learning daily how to best instill courage, foster growth, and lead with heart. So just know I'm in this with you guys. I have to work daily on my mindset. And one of the reasons why I wanted to produce this panel today is because I'm always having to find tools and use tools to stay in the game, stay encouraged, and continue to encourage my team and keep everybody's head in the game. So this is going to be really useful for me today as well. So let me go ahead and introduce our panel. I'm going to start with Ethan King. Ethan is a creative, multiple business owner, entrepreneur leader, and keynote speaker who educates and inspires creative minds to achieve a rich life of wealth, health, freedom, and happiness. Ethan speaks on business growth, reinvention, lifestyle design, health optimization, and longevity. He's also written a book, which we'll get to later. I'm really excited about that. Then we have Amy V. Cooper. Hi, Amy. Amy is a photography business consultant and personal coach. While offering portfolio reviews, marketing strategy, and business consulting, Amy also works with clients to shift their mindset, gain clarity, release anxiety, create better beliefs, and stronger habits. And now to Michael Danclefs. Michael's got the cool tie, which he'll show you. He's got scales on his tie. It's pretty cool. Michael is a certified life book leader and life vision outfitter with Elevate Your Best. Michael works with clients to refine, discover, and take action to live the best version of themselves using the 4 principles of preparation, commitment, accountability, and celebration to guide his clients to achieve their goals. And last but not least, we have Robin Ciara. Robin is a boutique media agency owner specializing in social media services, coaching, and is a mind-body connection advocate. Robin is on a mission to help businesses stay present and profitable online through mindful practices and creative marketing. So we have a really diverse group of people here today, which is going to be amazing because everyone's going to have their own input on mindset, tools that they use, their own experiences and how they got interested in mindset and what mindset's done for them. So we're going to start right off the bat. I want to get moving. We have a lot to talk about. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists to share where they're joining from. So make sure you let us know where you are and a little bit about themselves and their journey and how mindset came into play for them and why they see it as a game changer for their success. So let's start with Ethan. Ethan, tell us about your journey from being a young, struggling creative to the life you live now, which is like not struggling. It's pretty cool. When I first met Ethan, I was like, wait a second, how many businesses do you have? Because it was like, I was seeing stuff online. I was hearing him talk about multiple things. He's like a powerhouse. He and his wife are amazing. So he's got a lot to share about how mindset came into play for him and how he feels it sort of shifted that trajectory from a young struggling artist.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, fantastic. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. First of all, glad to see everyone coming from around the world. I think the biggest thing about mindset, the biggest misconception that people have is we tend to think that success is like this straight arrow, like going up, but it's really, what it really looks like is it's messy, right? The road to success is messy and painful. So a little bit about myself. I started out wanting to be an artist when I grew up. I was into drawing and painting and sculpture, but my parents told me that artists only make money after they're dead. But I didn't listen, and I majored in art anyway. So in college, I was the guy like designing the fraternity flyers and stuff. And the other Greek organizations started asking me to design their materials too. And I did it for free just because I loved doing it. But it turns out that my parents were right, and I struggled to make money. In fact, I remember being so broke that some nights all I had for dinner was microwave popcorn. And unfortunately, I made bad decisions. I hustled to make money instead of making an honest living. And because of this, I ended up in jail twice by the age of 19. And I also got suspended from college. So it was a really rough time in my life. And this was the president of the university, Michael Adams, at the time. I actually got called to the president's office and suspended from school because of my behavior. Fortunately, he didn't expel me. I could have been expelled, but he only suspended me for one semester, and I was able to graduate. But after graduating, I found it tough to get a real job. I mean, I had a degree in art and a bit of a criminal record, so I ended up working these odd jobs. And probably the worst, most humiliating job I had was working at this, it was a strip club in a rough part of town in Atlanta. And I was taking out the trash and cleaning up the bar. And it was a really dangerous, there were shootouts and stuff there, and it was a really, really dangerous place to be. I knew that I needed to change my life and get into something else, but my mindset wasn't there yet. But I could feel like this urge pulling at me, telling me to make a change. But I got kind of trapped in that lifestyle. I even ended up using my artistic talents, my graphic design, to design flyers and posters for the strip club. But one night, I got carjacked at gunpoint, and my life was never the same after that. And I thought that the guy was going to kill me. And in fact, I was on my way to the club to work, and I got robbed. He took everything, and I was just so happy that I made it, and I swore that I would like leave that industry alone, and I did. I never did work for that industry again. And lo and behold, I started applying myself in different ways, and I started landing some big graphic design clients like Tyler Perry. We did all of the books for his plays for like 10 years. And then my wife and I, my girlfriend at the time, we started this a website called Stuff for Greeks. And this was like the first version of it. And we, it was a school project that I created to do Greek paraphernalia because that's what I was doing for fun anyway. And after a while, people started asking us to make the jackets, and we ended up doing it on our own. And we became, and still are, Stuff for Greeks is one of the top Greek paraphernalia companies in the world. And in 2008, we were able to move the business out of our house, and we bought our own building in West Midtown Atlanta. And now we have 2 store locations, a bunch of different website properties. And I'm just very fortunate that our business has grown and grown. We've won multiple awards. And in fact, one award that I'm very proud of for a very particular reason is called the Bulldog 100. And so this is given out at UGA to the 100 fastest UGA owned company, the 100 fastest growing companies owned by UGA alumni. And we've been on this list. We won the award 4 times, but the first time we won the award, guess who presented me with the award when I got called up to the stage? The same president, Michael Adams, who had suspended me from school a decade earlier, was now presenting me with an award for business growth. So for me, this was a defining moment in my life where I knew that things had come full circle, and I was finally in alignment with what the universe had in store for me. So I say that to say that wherever you are now is not where you're going to be. If you change the wiring and get in alignment with your purpose for the world, your purpose for the universe, then things will start to line up, and you'll see signs letting you know when you're not on track and signs letting you know when you are on track. So that's a bit of my origin story, and I'm happy to answer any other questions that Darcie has.
Thank you, Ethan. I love that story. And he shares a little bit about that story in his book. So I was like, I think after I read that, I texted you immediately and was like, oh my God, it's such a good story to like have your life turn around like that and have the person that you thought might end your life actually congratulate you on your growth. And that's just amazing. I really appreciate you sharing that story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And like I said, Ethan has a lot of businesses. It's not just the one that he just shared with you. And so, I mean, I'm kind of curious. It's like, where do you get your energy? Where do you keep going? And how do you decide like, I'm also going to do this. And I'm also going to do this. And like, how do you just like keep that energy and that mindset so positive that you like, just want to kind of keep trying things and finding success? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my mindset around it is that life is short and I want to do a lot of different things. I mean, to be honest, a lot of my business mentors would advise me to do differently and just focus on one thing. Focus, focus, focus. But I'm like, man, I want to do it all. Like life is short. But as far as the methodology behind it, what I'll do is I'll try something. And I do have a lot of different businesses, but there's also a lot of things I've tried that have failed and never got off the ground, and I just left them alone. So for me, the true test is when someone is willing to actually go in and spend their money, not say that they're going to spend money or say, oh, that's a good idea, you should do that. But when somebody actually pulls out their credit card and buys what I have to offer, then I know that it works. And then I'll build a business around it. But first I'll just try it out and sell it before, like, for example, our first jacket, and I told a very abbreviated version of our origin story, but initially we were just doing the design work, and we would say, hey, go get your jacket made somewhere else. We didn't know how to make jackets. We didn't even know what the process was called. We thought we had to find some lady with a sewing machine, and that was out of my wheelhouse. But people kept asking, no, I don't have any. I want you to make the jacket. We want you to make the jacket. So I said, okay. And I just kind of made up a number like, okay, well, $200. And then this girl paid us to make her jacket. I was like, oh, now we need to figure out how to actually do this. So that's kind of how I start things is get the money first, then figure out how to do it, because I'm always going to over deliver once someone has paid me money. And then if it continues, then I'll build a business around it.
I love that. I love that. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the industry as a stylist and an art director for 30 years. And so I can't tell you how many times I've worked with photographers where clients have asked us to do things where we're like in our heads, like, oh, how are we going to do that? But out of our mouth comes, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
we can do that.
Yeah.
And then once you've committed, then you got to figure it out. But that's
Right.
kind of half the fun, right? The
That's right, yeah.
creativity and like the hustle. And that's like that idea of like, I think so often all of us have experiences where we're sort of like feeling depleted and not engaged with what we're doing. And then if there's a way for us to sort of come back around to this concept of like, how do we get it to be fun again? How do I challenge myself? How do I get myself jazzed again? And I've experienced that so many times throughout this industry. Like 30 years is a long time. Like, how do you stay interested, right? And I will say, like, from my own self, I know like community is so important, and surrounding myself with other photographers and business owners within our industry that are also working to grow and that are also, can help us all get excited together, share business strategies, et cetera. So I just thought I'd throw that out there because I'm on a roll.
Okay.
Okay, so you also have a big personal brand, and I'm just curious a little bit about that and like what you do, what you've used mindset for in terms of growing your business and your personal brand. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, and it's actually kind of piggybacks on what you were just saying about who you surround yourself with. There's this quote by Jim Rohn: "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." And one thing I learned that really helped get me to this point, I remember when I was working, one of the jobs I had was working at a newspaper. After that carjacking incident, I landed a full-time job too while I was doing freelance stuff on the side. And I was working at this newspaper, And there would be some boring moments. Like, you have the fun part of graphic design, but then sometimes you just have the grunt work where you're just paginating and adjusting the spacing between letters in this classified paper. And so I would listen to music while I'm doing this kind of mindless work. And after a while, I just got tired of listening to music. So I turned on podcasts, internet radio, and I started listening about business and just learning different things. And that is what got me into business books. And I just went on, I just became like this avid reader of business books. In fact, one of them I have right here. I want to share this quick story with you. It's called the Spirituality of Success, The Science of Getting Rich. This is the first business book I ever read. It was 20 years ago. And funny thing is, I did a YouTube video about it because now I like to teach people, since that's what changed my life. You asked about my personal brand. Well, through organizations like EO Accelerator and EO, and I became chapter president of Entrepreneurs Organization, I wanted to give back to other people, especially creatives who don't have a lot of business training. Like I didn't, I have any type of business. I didn't go to business school. I was completely right-brained. So I learned I got my business teaching from books and from EO and things like that. And I just want to share that type of information. So that's what I do in my personal brand. And a fun story. So I did this video sharing about my top 10 books that I recommend to people. And that book was one of them. And the publisher reached out to me a few months. She saw my video and she said, hey, we're coming out with a 20th anniversary edition of the book, and we would like to have you contribute a testimonial. So I'm actually now in the book that changed my life. I actually have a paragraph right in the front of the book.
God.
And it is just, on top of that, the author, Vincent Roazzi, wrote a testimonial for my book that's coming out in March. So that's another example of things just coming full circle.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's where you speak about being in alignment, right? It's
right.
Like, yeah. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Amy, tell our audience a bit about your journey in the industry and how you arrived at using mindset to grow your business and teach photographers how they can do the same.
Thank you, Darcie. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Such an honor to be with APA. I really appreciate it. So I am a photography business consultant and personal coach in Austin, Texas. I started my career in New York City. I studied photography at Parsons School of Design, and I got an internship while I was there working with the photo editor of Elle Decor magazine. So I started photo editing right out of college in editorial and then in entertainment. I worked in New York City for 10 years, and then I moved into the advertising industry. And I came to Austin and worked with some really great companies and really big brands here in Austin. And while I was an art buyer in the advertising industry, I realized at some point, I think it was right around the Me Too movement, that I could count on one hand the number of female photographers I had been able to hire for a major campaign in the 20 years that I had been in the industry. And I really wanted to do something to change that. So I started my own agency. It was representing all female identifying photographers and hair and makeup artists. So I worked as a rep for a few years and realized while I was doing that my real passion was mentoring photographers. So I was already mentoring, so I decided to take that full time into photography business consulting. And over the past few years of working with photographers, I've realized that what seems to be one of the major barriers to them getting to the next level in their business is mindset. And fortunately, I had to do a lot of mindset work when I owned my agency, because I went into it as a self-declared, like, full-on 100% introvert, and that doesn't really work for being an agent. So I had done a lot of work on coming out of my shell, and I went from thinking that I was going to be able to run that agency just using, physical mailers and emails and sending people gifts, to realizing very quickly that I was going to have to start networking and talking to people and making connections. And now I am hosting events and showing up in real life. It was such a crazy turn for me, like a 180. So I'd done a lot of mindset work, and now that's something that I'm so happy to be able to share with my clients. All of these positive psychology modalities that I've been learning and putting into practice. Um, yeah, so that was my journey.
Awesome.
And that was, yeah, like you asked, it was a big game changer for my success.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I can totally relate to that because I also went out from a creative to being an agent, and like you thought, oh, I can do this. And then you get out there and you're like, oh, I actually have to talk to people.
Yes.
I actually have to and it's beyond that. It's not just talking to people, it's connecting with people. And it's finding ways to make your interactions matter. And
Yes.
that was a big mind shift for me. So I completely relate to your journey. We need to have lunch sometime.
Please, let's do it.
Okay, great. So since you work with photographers all the time, I am curious what kind of mindset blocks that you find are most common with photographers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think probably the biggest one is photographers just being afraid to show themselves, to share their work, to market themselves. They are really worried about what people are going to think of their work. What if someone doesn't like it? Some of these photographers even think, what if I get canceled, which isn't really a thing. A big one is I'm not ready, or my work isn't good enough. And I ask all of my photographers who their top 10 dream clients are. And a lot of them really insist that they're not ready to start marketing to those people, which sometimes really is not true. And sometimes they just need to hear it from me or from anyone to say, you are ready for this. It's safe for you to show yourself. A lot of people are also afraid to bother people. So they don't want to market themselves because they feel like they're bothering someone, which is also not true. They have sometimes the belief that the opportunities are not out there, that the market is too saturated or there's too much competition. That tends to hold people back from showing up. There's a lot of scarcity mindset. Like, I think this is where people stick to shooting what the low-hanging fruit. So they know they can do headshots or weddings or whatever, even though their real passion is something, maybe fashion or still life or celebrity portraits. But when you stay in that mode of grabbing the low-hanging fruit, you're not making space for the bigger opportunities to come in. And I think the last thing is they're just afraid to take risks. And that goes along with what I started talking about at the beginning, afraid to show themselves. So those are the top things that I'm seeing from my clients.
Yeah, I think that all of us can relate to those. It's common outside of our industry as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So having those mindset blocks and working with so many photographers that experience that, what would you say is your most powerful solution that you offer? I know you have a lot of solutions, but if you were only going to pick one, like most powerful solution you offer to your clients to empower their thinking, what would that be?
I would say probably the most powerful thing for me has been setting intentions and really getting your head straight before you send that email, before you make that phone call, before you show up on set. Intention setting is really important. How do you want to feel? What do you want to get out of this? Being really clear about what you want. But the other really big thing is getting out of your head, getting out of your bubble. So as photographers, we tend to be working by ourselves. We're, in our office alone, and we have all these ideas about, are we good enough? What's available to us? And a lot of those thoughts are just not true. And it can be as simple as, call a friend, call another photographer, talk this through out loud with someone else. Maybe it's a consultant. Once you start talking about it and verbalizing what's in your head, you realize that it's not all true, that things are probably actually a lot better than you think they are.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's also, it's great practice to talk to other photographers and become friends with other photographers, get an understanding of where their fears are. That type of communication, I know, Amy, for me, and I'm wondering if it's for you as well, like the more you did it, the more comfortable you became doing it with even potential clients, to be able to learn how to get outside of your head and like look at the other person and go, I wonder what's going on inside their head. I wonder how they're doing. I wonder how they're feeling. I wonder what they need. What are they afraid of? And once you kind of get outside of like, oh my God, what are they going to think of me? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And you're like out of that. And then now spending your energy on them.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a really nice shift that happens. And suddenly they realize you're interested in, I don't know, figuring out who they are, and then it becomes a much more comfortable place for them to be, and an interesting place for them to be. So
yeah, and I also love this idea of the things that you're saying to yourself. Would you say those things to your best friend? Would you want your best friend to be having those same thoughts and thinking about that and being a lot more compassionate with yourself, rooting for yourself? I think that's important too.
That's awesome. That's so great. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael, you're up. Michael, we'd love to hear about your journey with mindset. Tell us where you are joining us from and what has brought you to where you are today.
Sure. So my name is Michael Danklos. I'm up in New Hampshire, up here in the northeast part of the United States. I've kind of moved all over the United States between Washington, California, and New Hampshire, kind of the places where I've really put a stake in the ground. So kind of all different types of seasons and all different kinds of locations. And kind of for me around mindset, as each person has been talking, it kind of, extracted a couple of ideas for me. So I went to college for computer and video imaging. So not quite photography, it's more not quite graphic design either. So it's a little bit of 2D, a little bit of 3D. And I ended up dropping out of college because I felt like I had the technical skills that they were teaching, but not the creative ones. They weren't teaching things like color theory and cadence and all those things that nowadays they actually screen for someone who has those skills, and then they try to teach them the technology. But I'm kind of the reverse. I start out as a technologist more so. I could pick up the tools, and that's kind of the perspective that I've taken over time, but not just to have a tool. So for me, it was like whenever I got out of school and really started working I started in customer service. And customer service is kind of that first rung, but I've also learned over time that you are always in customer service. You are always being of service to a customer, if it's a coworker or an actual customer outside of the business. And really kind of that is your front line many times, and you take the biggest beating many times at most companies. And as an entrepreneur, you are customer service, you are accounting, you are the business manager, you are the worker as well. So it has really kind of honed me into this perspective of being of service. And it took me a while to really kind of extract that out of that progress, because I've then kind of gone through higher levels in IT and doing system administration and doing tool building and programming and taking it more from the left brain's part, kind of the exact opposite of what Amy was talking about, where she is more right brain, and Ethan as well, is then reconnecting that in with where your heart is, where your creative juices are, and seeing where that can actually connect with not only what you're skilled at, but also what you can bring to the world and actually living into your strengths. So for me, it was that troubleshooting idea, that idea of actually taking things from a new perspective. So in customer service, many times it is, let me translate this geek into normal speak, Or maybe the other way around is the customer says they want this, but I need to take that to the engineer so that they understand what that's doing. Or coming up with a solution that actually solves their problem if you are the only person who's doing it. So right now I have a day job where I'm actually part of a 4-person company total for a software package for public broadcasting stations across the United States. So very small team. So I'm doing customer service and programming, sales and support. So it's needed to have multiple different mindsets throughout the day, just to, let alone throughout the week or the month. But all of those for me has really come from this place of how can I bring more value to the customer who's in front of me? And if that is like Ethan was talking about, is that he took the money for the product and he knew he was going to over deliver. That very much for me is that service mindset, is I'm going to show up for that person because I've committed to doing that and I'm going to over deliver for it. So kind of take that progress of troubleshooting and delivering kind of on what a customer's needs. I also found that I had a unique skill of asking questions that people didn't expect, so that then they come to an answer that they didn't know was there because they were up against their barrier. Their mindset stopped them. But sometimes it's a matter of like, let's take a step back and let's look at it from here. Or maybe you turn to the left or turn to the right so you can see whatever barrier or problem is in front of you from that slightly different perspective. And many times those blind spots are not things we can see on our own. And our friends can certainly give us advice and give us feedback and stuff, but many times it's a matter of going to someone who may be outside of your industry or maybe from a different perspective in your industry that can really kind of give you some insight and ask some of those questions. And like Shannon talked about, it's not just as asking the question, it's also listening to the answer and what is not said in the answer, so you can follow up with a different question to help someone get to that other layer. So where I came to this though was I need to ask those questions of myself first, because yes, I did fairly well in IT and I have tackled a lot of challenges, and I too have actually had that fall down moment and had to really question myself of why was I there? Why was I doing that? How did I get here? And then pull back and actually figure out what are the beliefs, what is the mindset, what is the trigger that actually has got me there, and pull that apart. And hopefully in a way that doesn't put you back in jail, because jail is a great time and place to think, but isn't necessarily the best place to have interactions with your family, with your friends in the world. So it's taken some of that hit to the universe saying it's time to slow down and figure out what you're doing, instead of just barreling forward and pushing through, regardless of what that intuition is that says, nope, maybe you should turn around now. Maybe you should stop what you're doing and do it from a different perspective. So it's really, I had to start doing that with myself first. And then as I kind of expanded with getting connected with other people, is I started working with a men's team, which is a very particular arena to play in. And it's in a space that is intended to be safe, where you can bring whatever's coming up and get support around it, where you can actually be 100% authentically yourself and be seen as that. And then also then support others and use feedback as a tool to help others feel where they are struggling, where they can see a different perspective to get around it. And generally from this place of personal experience, not a matter of advice, not a matter of telling people what to do. And that's where kind of this troubleshooting, seeing it from different perspectives, that I found that I actually excel to the next level of being able to help people to overcome that barrier, that roadblock, that concept that was really tough for them to follow, because many times the answer is actually in the question. It's a matter of asking that question and not telling somebody what to do, because we generally know in our heart what the answer to the question is, but then we make up all kinds of story about what that answer is. So how does that then apply into business? Is we kind of take that to the next phase. It's how do we then bring our mindset to that next prospect, to that next project, to that job that you, at this point, it's that you're in the grind and you hate what you're doing. What gives you the courage to then try something different, to make the proposal like Ethan did of, yeah, I'll get you a jacket, and then just suck it up and go off and do it. That took a lot of courage, a lot of audacity to step out and say, yes, I got you, and then figure it out on the way. But I know so many times, especially if we've fallen down hard, that we start judging ourselves that we're not good enough to take on that next project. So how do you then shift that mindset? How do you actually get to this place where I can be audacious and put out that thing? And even from this place of an introvert, if we look on the Flow Genome Project, I'm a deep thinker. I'm not a person who actually likes, that I gain energy by actually talking with other people. I do, but I tend to gain energy whenever I'm working through a problem and finding a new solution. So for me, then it's, how do I bring value? How do I bring service to people who need what I can bring? And actually have that laid out of, this is the journey I can help take you on. If that's that you have a particular niche and a style that you do, as Amy said, if you're doing still shots, but you'd rather be doing portraits, well, how do you bring that? How do you expand on what skills you have and then apply them into the next phase of what you're going to do? Sometimes it's going to require practice. For me, the model is preparation, is do your homework, do your research, then commit to what you're going to do. Once you know what's at stake, once you know what's there, commit to getting it done and set a timeline on it. And then have someone that's going to hold you accountable. Sometimes that's the customer, sometimes it's a business partner, sometimes it's actually a third party that has no idea what your business is, but because we actually externally make ourselves accountable, we make sure we follow through. And the last part that so many people forget is to celebrate the progress that you've made. And sometimes that's just an acknowledgement of, yes, I've got this far. Yes, I've actually checked the box. And other times it's actually a matter of taking the lesson out of it so you can apply it to the next experiment that you're going to do in your life. So that's the model for me that I use around mindset, is prepare for what you're going to do. Do your homework. Don't just come in blind. Check out that customer, find out what their history is, look at what they've done already, and then bring something of value if you're going to commit to it. Then commit to deliver, stretch a little bit maybe, but commit to what that time frame is, and then be held accountable to it. Deliver and follow through on it. And then lastly, high five your neighbor or give yourself a reward or something to celebrate the fact that you've overcome. It may be a small step or maybe a big one, but each of those celebrations actually reinforces that the process that we're on to our brain, that this is where we want to be. This is the emotions I want to feel, and we need to keep doing this. So that for me is how I approach mindset and get people to, in my coaching practice, to engage in this so they can actually move to the next level of their life.
Awesome. Michael, thank you. Always so inspiring to listen to you. It's just so great. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, Robin, my dear, how about you? Can you share a little bit about where you are and your history, and talk to us about how you found yourself teaching mindset practices to support your clients?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes. Whew. So yeah, I am Robin, and thank you all for welcoming me. And thank you, Darcie, especially for orchestrating this powerful panel here on such a powerful day. 22222. I know you guys have it's played out by now, but yeah, so a little bit about myself. I am that typical story where I, worked in the corporate world 9 years. I was an account manager in sales primarily prior to getting married and having children, at which point I was a full-time mom, part-time partner to my husband, who I helped basically lay out, design, and brand 2 of his 3 restaurants, which our last project was a very big undertaking. And it is a large brewery, at which point we can, and we do it all. It's a full-blown restaurant. And, it was very big. He manages over 100 employees now, and he is mainly there operating. But fast forward, 8 years to the day he looked me in the face and said, "This isn't working anymore. You need to leave the business." At which point, to not dive too deep in, I basically felt like my heart was ripped out of my chest, and he just like threw it up in the air and got a chainsaw and was just like chopping away at it. Like, that's pretty much how I felt. So, I went home and I was almost very much so just dismissed and devalued everything that I had worked for. All of, I had built up his catering business and everything was just handed over because he didn't need me anymore. And, we had bumped heads too. I mean, it's very hard and difficult to work with your husband. And I am very much more systematic. And now he values me as a visionary. But back then he didn't realize that I was trying and I was envisioning, creating different systems so that it could be more streamlined and work, like a well-oiled machine. But in hindsight, he realizes that now. But at the time, it was a big pill for me to swallow when I had to walk away, and just all the blood, sweat, and tears were just kind of gone. And every day he would come home and I was lost. I mean, every day he would come home and I would lash out. I was somebody that I wasn't. And really I feel as though that I was almost transformed and formed into somebody that I wasn't. So I was that stay-at-home, trophy wife who had the implants, had the au pair, had everything she wanted, could travel anywhere she wanted, whenever she wanted. But I was so empty and suffering and in pain on the inside. And I didn't tell a soul because, children were dying of cancer and they were starving. And how could I dare even express that I was suffering or in pain? And I held a lot of that in until one day I hit rock bottom and I was just so empty. And it just wasn't who I was. I knew, and by all means, there are plenty of women who probably would have wanted that life, but I did not. And I just, we're all different. And that's what made me realize that I had a purpose, and that wasn't my purpose. And while I love my children and I'm with them a lot, I was meant for more. And one day I was just in so much pain that I was willing to, I just wanted to do anything to end that pain. And I considered ending it for good, at which point there was a voice inside my head and maybe inside my soul, or I don't know where the heck it came from, but it said, you are so much stronger, and you can't leave your kids in that situation with a man that can't even give them an hour of time, let alone a lifetime. That was the first and foremost aha, wake up moment. But secondly, that I do have a purpose, and I just needed to stop chasing the arsonist, if that makes sense. So for a very long time, imagine this: if your house is burning down, do you call the authorities and try to rebuild that house, or do you chase the arsonist? And for the longest time, I was chasing the arsonist, and my house had completely burnt down. So with that, I really listened to my guides and my voices, and I thought I was crazy at one point, trust me. And I did what most people did, and I just searched therapists because I knew I needed help. And I truly believe that it was a universal gift and I had tried therapists in the past, and nothing necessarily worked for me personally, but this one particular description really stood out at me, and it was, we don't dwell on the past, but we give you tools to move through the future. And it was called mindful therapy. And here it was something, and I don't know if any of you are aware of it, but it's DBT, which is dialectic behavioral therapy. And for me, it was a major game changer because it helped me really become aware and recreate myself. But it helped me really become aware of when I was in my emotional state and when I was in my reasoning state. And, when I was in my emotional state and my husband would walk in the door, my chest would start pounding. I would lash out, I would become a monster. I would become somebody I wasn't, so what it helped me do was create tools. For me, it was like peppermint. So I would put peppermint on my wrist, and it would trigger my brain to open up my laptop basically and plug away at a business plan, because I didn't have anywhere to go. And he wasn't going anywhere. He wasn't leaving the house, but I knew I wanted out and I wanted that freedom. And I didn't want to take him. I could have very easily went through a divorce, but I wanted to rebuild my own identity first. So, and I knew that, and it was very hard for many years, but with that, it took a lot. I had to block out a lot of people out of my life. I was told that, my kids needed me, and it was a lot at first. So I had to create almost like a tunnel vision and really surround myself with the people that told me that I could, and that, you know, I was everything that I needed was within me. And you know, I started diving into different personal development exercises and personal discovery exercises, and I almost became a little bit addicted. And one thing led to another, and I just feel as though I was almost manifesting all these amazing healers and people that have really helped me rediscover myself, my soul, my purpose, who I really am. And with that, I realized that I have a gift. I'm a visionary. I could take somebody and I could really recreate who they are and help them even, you know, amplify their message and gain their own confidence. And through that, I realized that, you know, these amazing people who want to make an impact on the world, I could help those people who are so gifted, and together we could probably rise above, right? So I opened up my own agency. I didn't borrow a cent from my husband. I took the $1,200 that my parents saved in my life savings. Like, that's it. But I took the $1,200 and I paid my first rent, and I plugged away, and I started getting, you know, accounts for social media management. And I started managing different accounts. I started taking on one-on-one coaching, and then I started into different areas. And I'm now 3 years later, I'm opening up a studio. I have another LLC that I've developed, and I just got a huge account in Philadelphia, and it's called University Place, which is the first green, like commercial real estate building. And it's really, the developers are the ones that did the World Trade Center. So it's a big undertaking, and I couldn't feel more blessed. And really, it's all within that mindset that got me here. Because if I would have listened to the people that I thought loved me, I wouldn't be here at all. And that's what it really comes down to, and where I'm at the moment. And a lot of that had to do with, you know, the integrative DBT and mind body movement. So I'm a yogi. I am very big into yoga. I know a lot of people say, well, I can't even touch my toes. Well, those are the ones that need it, because, you know, when all of this happened and I realized that I needed help, I realized that I've always done yoga, but I never incorporated the spiritual practice of it. So as women, we hold, you know, our emotions in our shoulders and our hips. And even as men, my brother-in-law, who is the most business driven, very like left-sided anything, has now been doing yoga, and it's been a game changer. He's like, you know, I couldn't let go of my head. When he bent over, he was like, I never could let go of my head. I could let go now. I didn't realize how much that I was holding on my shoulders. And just like that, it's like he's understanding how important the mind body connection is for everything. So a lot of what I do is I incorporate that mind body connection importance with embodied imagery and things like that to help my clients really become in alignment with who they are when they are creating the content, you know, effective content. So that's really where I'm at.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Such a big story. And so, I mean, powerful.
I have an
I mean,
explant now, by the way.
you have a what now?
The implant became an explant.
Oh, an
I'm completely new.
Congratulations.
And I feel so good.
Good, good. I'm so glad. Well, thank you so much for sharing that very personal story. And it really does help. I think everybody, you know, goes through their stuff, right? And it's just really helpful, I think, to know, especially for those who are here to help us, that understanding that you had gone through your stuff as well. So yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that. Let's keep going. I want to circle back around with everyone. I've got lots and lots of questions, so I want to make sure we have as much time as possible. We also have some audience questions here, but as I had shared earlier, Ethan has written a book titled Wealth Beyond Knowledge: Unlocking the 6 Dimensions of Success for Richness in Every Area of Your Life. And the book is not out yet, but I am very fortunate, and I have a copy, and I have read it from beginning to end. And you guys, this book is really good. I highly recommend it once it's out. So Ethan, you'll have to share a little bit more about that. And then I also wanted to tell you guys, if you're willing to stick around and you're able to stick around, Ethan is going to share an exercise from his book that is really, really powerful. And it's a visualization exercise. And so I know everybody here is visual. So this is going to be powerful for you guys. So if you can stick around, I highly recommend it. It's going to be great. But Ethan, if you don't mind, I know toward the beginning of your book, you write about the 4 guiding principles. Could you share those principles with us?
Yeah, sure. In fact, the book is still in editing. We're actually up to about 7 principles now, but I'm going to go through them really quick.
Okay.
And some of it has been hit on by some of the things that other presenters have said. So thank you all for sharing your stories, your journeys. I'm learning a lot from you guys, and I see a lot of overlap and similarities in the things that we're teaching here. So to everyone who's listening, success leaves clues. So definitely check that out. So the first one is eliminate the lukewarm. How many times in life do we do things that we're really only kind of halfway into? I mean, I know I have friends who will spend 4 hours watching a football game and they don't really care about either team that much. And they could have done something else with the time. In my life with food, I decided to try going gluten-free and realized that I didn't really care that much about bread, but the results were tremendous. So with everything in your life, look at, does it really, really move you, and only do the things that you're either hell yeah or no about. The next principle is, if someone else has done it, then I can do it too. Really, sometimes it baffles me how some people get caught up in thinking that, oh, well, this person's lucky, or it's just genetics, or it's just that. 99.9% of things you can do. Even I use the analogy of basketball. Like, I'm not a super tall guy, and I suck at basketball. Like, I'm terrible at basketball. But if I really, really, really wanted to, I could be a professional basketball player. I'm about 5'8", so I looked up, well, how many professional basketball players are my height or shorter? Because if they can do it, then I can do it too. It's just a matter of studying the greats, having a strong enough desire, getting a coach, and dedicating your life to the craft. The next principle is think and instead of either or. If you are presented with a choice, a lot of times we think, well, I either can do this or that. A lot of times if you apply yourself, you can do both things. So just approach it with that mindset first. The next principle is attract, don't chase. When you chase things, they usually run away from you. So whatever you're trying to, if you're trying to attract more clients, become the type of person, the type of photographer or creative or whatever you're doing, become the type that is sought after, that people want to work with. So they're clawing after you. It's that shift in your brain changes your tone of voice. It changes how you approach things. Even in like your relationships, people can sense like when when somebody's desperate and chasing after something versus when they're the type of person that just attracts people. So that one little tweak can make a huge difference. And then there is no lack. Someone said this earlier about having a scarcity mindset. There is no lack. Everything in life is infinitely abundant. Don't think that because someone else is winning, it means you're losing. Everyone can win. In fact, I like this quote by Zig Ziglar: if you want to get what you want in life, help others get what they want. And 2 more here. The last one, just before the last one, is everything is happening for you. There's a quote in the book called The Alchemist that the universe is conspiring for you. There's this thing called the law of polarity. Everything that happens in life is both good and bad. Like, there's nothing that's just all bad. So look for the good in everything. For example, I prioritize working out. I take, fitness is very serious to me. And there's obviously a lot of benefits with fitness, stronger immune system, more youthful appearance, more energy, and more vitality. But it's also bad. Why? I could be doing something else with the time, truthfully. Some people might think I'm vain because I work out. I also look younger than I am, so I have some peers who don't take me as seriously. So there are downsides to everything, and there are upsides to everything. Everything is both good and bad. So always look for the good in things and just assume that it's happening for you. And the last rule is that there are no rules. Like, we have all these societal constructs things, traditions in your family and expectations that people have of you, and you feel obligated, you feel guilty whenever you step outside the lines. Maybe it's the way that you spend money or the way that you save money, and you feel a bit of shame and guilt because you weren't brought up that way. Now, I'm not talking about breaking the law. I'm talking about cultural expectations, societal, and from your family, things like that. This is your life. You get to design it. There are no rules except for the ones that you make.
Awesome. I'm going to need a new copy of the book since that's changing. We had 4 of those. That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Ethan.
Oh, and the book is it's actually Wealth Beyond Money is the title of the book.
Did I do it wrong again? Did I say knowledge?
No worries.
Oh my God,
but it's
I'm so
Wealth
sorry.
Beyond Money, Unlocking the 6 Dimensions of Success for Richness in Every Area of Your Life. It launches on March 15th. If you want to join the book launch team, you can get it for $1.99. Go to ethansbook.com. You can get it for $1.99 on launch day.
And you guys, I'm telling you, the book is really, really good. I'm excited for you to do that visualization exercise here. So I'm going to keep cranking through these questions. I know we're already at 8 o'clock, so I may even skip a few of these. If you guys find also that you had questions that are not getting answered, these panelists are available to you after this. They are going to share, if they haven't already, they are going to share their contact information. Go ahead and reach out to them with your questions, because that's why they're here. This is what they do. They want to encourage you guys. So please, if you feel like you've got specific questions that are not getting answered, do reach out to them. Amy, here is one audience question. Can you share mindset practices for photographers experience imposter syndrome when faced with new opportunities?
Yes, absolutely. So the first thing that I mentioned earlier is setting intentions. And also, I think something that is really powerful is either journaling or verbalizing the best case scenario. So writing things down in a journal with a pen, and then also saying them out loud. What is it that you really want to happen? What is the best case scenario? We're often in a doom spiral, and we have to stop ourselves and say, okay, what is a better thought? What could be the best possible outcome? And I actually do this every morning. I do a voice recording of me saying what I'm grateful for, and I record how my day went. I say it out loud in past tense as if it had already happened exactly how I wanted it to happen. And then I do the same thing for future intentions. Another thing that you can do with imposter syndrome and other fears that you're having is fear setting. So if you're stuck up in your head about in that doom spiral, do some fear setting. So what is the worst possible thing that could happen? And if it did happen, how would you manage it? What tools do you have? Prepare yourself so that you know that you're able to handle things. But another thing to do is ask yourself, what would your life be like if you didn't do this thing? If you didn't take this risk? If you just decided that it was too scary to try and reach out to someone for that fashion campaign, so all you did for the rest of your life was local headshots? How would you feel? Scare yourself into doing the scarier thing. And I think also something that's really powerful is get into your body. Your limitations they only exist in your head. So get out of your head and get into your body. And that might mean exercise. It could be dancing, especially for imposter syndrome, power posing. If anybody has seen Amy Cuddy's TED Talk or read her book Presence, power pose is another thing you can do. Something that I was talking about on my Instagram a week or two ago about imposter syndrome was stop following your competition. If your competition is making you feel bad, stop following them, or change your reaction to what's happening and start congratulating them. And this goes back, I think it was something that Michael, or I can't remember if it was Michael or Ethan, saying about helping other people succeed at what they want to do. So it feels a lot better to, like when you see your competition, they just landed a big campaign that you would have died for, go and comment and say, congratulations, that is so major, that's huge. You're not only going to make their day, it feels so much better than, crawling into your own hole and saying, why didn't I get that? Making yourself feel bad. I see Michael nodding a lot here. Michael, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
So Ethan was the one who said that, you can get anything you want as long as you're willing to serve 100 people, I think, to get what they want. But absolutely, it's this, when you are grateful for what someone else has, you're training your brain for what you want.
That's right.
And it's getting this space of, do you want other people to think poorly of you if you actually got that big gig? Because if so, then you're setting yourself up for self-sabotage. So if you can come from this place of, this is a worthy rival and I need to honor you for your skill at landing that, it then rebuilds in the mindset of, wow, I can respect others for the work that they're doing. And it then has me step up my game of what I want to do in order to work for the next one.
Yes, and they are showing you what's possible for you. It's so powerful to think of it that way. They're showing you what's possible.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Thanks, you guys. That's really, really powerful. Another point that you've made, Amy, that I really love, I'm a big believer in this, is reframe failure as growth. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most powerful things that I ever heard was, it's okay to fail. It's okay if the thing doesn't work out. I think that I truly believe that failure is how we learn. It's the steps to getting to where we want to go. It's as simple as that. Failure is just learning. It's growth. It's helping you get to the next level. I think that is so important.
I completely agree. I think any successful person would tell you that they got there from failure, and learning from their failures. It's what we do as humans. Of course, we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to make a lot of them. And you're going to feel a lot better if you aren't beating yourself up about it, and you're actually saying, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I do it? How can I do it differently next time?
And the trick is going faster from failure to like, okay, what did I learn, and moving forward with it, understanding, okay, I just really screwed that up. I must be in the process of learning something really big. And for me, I've learned this with personal relationships. When I get into a big disagreement, or a conversation that feels really heavy or really difficult, I say, oh, I must be about to level up because that sucked. And I think this every time I have like an extended period of anxiety or a really bad panic attack. I'm like, okay, something really big and next level is on the other side of this pain.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Thank you. Michael, you have developed excellent skills in personal connection and networking. How important is the mindset when it comes to networking? What changes unpleasant networking into authentic connection? One of the questions we received during registration was, what can we do to connect with potential clients on a Zoom call authentically? Are there tips and tricks? I know those are a lot of questions, but can you just sort of speak to any and all of that, whatever you feel most drawn to?
So I think it kind of comes back to what I really kind of was hitting on whenever I introduced myself, is if you're actually getting on to connect with someone, it's a matter of actually finding out what they need. If they're a potential client, it's a matter of asking the questions and then listening for the answers. And sometimes that means having there be a uncomfortable silence as they actually get to their answers. because that is where, because people like to share where they're at, and sometimes we need to give them space. And it's one of those things that not many people do. How many times do you actually go through life and ask somebody as you're walking by, hey, how you doing? And you keep walking. You don't even hear what their answer is. So that is, I think, to me, is where that authenticity comes from, is don't come with a preconceived notion of exactly how that conversation is going to go. From a coaching perspective, Michael Neal talks about this idea of the first step to serving a client is to show up and leave all of your baggage at the door, and then show up for whatever shows up, rather than having this, I mean, intention setting, yes, is really important, is I'm going to be open and be of service to this client, but not actually say, well, this is the only program I'm going to offer them because that's all that I know. And then when you're actually hearing where the person is coming from, when you're really listening to what they need, and you can come from this place of, yes, I'm a hell yes, I can do that, like Ethan was talking about, or no, I can't serve you, but I know someone else who can. That's another way where you can actually really make this one call that you have, that potentially 5 minutes to really capture their attention of why you're there. It's how do you best serve the client? And if there is a win-win in there, without using the word win-win, but come to this place of a win-win for both of you, if you're working with them or not, that builds the relationship. In one of the quests that I was in, somebody popped in, it was a networking quest. And they're like, well, I need to actually close 12 deals in the next 3 days. And I'm like, good luck. Because if you have not built a relationship yet where they know how much you care about what their problem is, there's very little likelihood you're just going to snap your fingers and close the deal. Because especially whenever you are an entrepreneur, when you are the face of your company, the relationship is where that starts, and them actually knowing that you are here to be of service. So I know someone actually mentioned earlier about sending out a bunch of emails and not getting a lot of response. One of the suggestions that I've seen was do unauthenticated unauthorized internship, where you actually take one of their ideas and you actually work it ahead of time and say, I saw that you did this for your campaign or for your photos. I put a little bit different spin on it. What do you think of my style? And in some ways, and I think it's related to one of the other questions we have, is how much work is free work? And there's many times whenever you can show off what you're doing by applying your spin and already showing that you're thinking about what they're getting to, and potentially bring your style to it. So it's another way to kind of show up and say, I'm here for you as a client. That would be my approach.
Speak to more specifically photographers trying to connect with clients on Zoom or maybe in portfolio reviews. Having done so many portfolio reviews, a lot of photographers go into it feeling like I only have this amount of time to sell myself and to convince this person to hire me. And that's the wrong way to go into it. I really recommend that you take that time not to sell yourself, but to be curious about their business, because you're going to gain so much information that's going to be helpful for you. But at the same time, you're asking them questions. You're making them feel like they're really interesting, and that makes them feel good. It's more important how you make someone feel in that conversation. It really is relationship building. And when you look at it from that perspective of building a relationship, it takes the pressure off of you to try and sell yourself. And you don't need to be getting on Zoom with someone and talking about what your work looks like or how you did it. They can see what it looks like. Make that personal connection. And I also think that's another opportunity to set an intention. Before I get on Zoom with any client, I drink some water, I take some deep breaths, and I set an intention for that conversation. How I want to feel at the end of that connection and how I want them to feel. And when you think about how you want them to feel, it really helps you speak and act in a way to get there.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Great input, both of you. Robin, because you deal in marketing and marketing messaging, I've got a kind of a two-part question here for you. So part of it, which was a audience question. What mindset tools do you find most effective for helping others to come into alignment with their marketing messaging? And let me find it. The actual question from the audience was, what are some ways to overcome the fear of marketing oneself?
So yeah, I mean, different mindset tools that help them come into alignment with their messaging. So I like to follow something that I call the magic formula. So the M for magic is meditate. I'm very big into meditation, which is more or less visionary or, daydreaming, if you will. But what I like to do is offer an authenticity meditation. So I guide them through a visualization that helps them visualize themselves in the past, the present, and then the future. And then we usually do an exercise afterward and we evaluate, analyze, and you'd be surprised as to what some people discover about themselves, even what they played as a child and things like that, and where they are now. And it even sometimes discloses some fears that they may not have otherwise known were there, which also helps us, map out and create that content. I do like to push limits. I like to push people out of their comfort zone, but all within reason and baby steps. So I love to watch people evolve. And even myself, I've become a testament to what that practice entails and how, you can evolve. Because like I had mentioned before in my own story, pain was my greatest teacher. And like Amy had mentioned, fear, and just that, I through surrounding myself with the instructors and the leaders that I have those mantras in my head and those voices, like, so I could be in standing dancer pose and totally off balance. And a lot of my practice is what I practice on the mat is what I practice off the mat. So, I keep my eye on my own vision because I stay on my own mat. I don't worry. I can be close to like 5 inches away from another person on their mat in a hot 95-degree room. But I am focused. I am keeping my eye on my own vision, and I'm not letting their energy knock me down. But sometimes it happens. And, I'm not scared of falling out because I'm not scared of failing. Because when you're scared of failing, when you have a fear of failing, you'll never succeed. You'll just live in fear for the rest of your life. And there's more suffering and living in fear than there is in, getting rid of that. So the M is for meditation, and I like to guide them through that. And then the A is attract. So how are we going to attract your ideal avatar, and what identifies you as a personality? Who are you? What colors are you aligned with? What energies are you aligned with? Are you astrologically aligned with certain things? And we dive a little bit deep into the spiritual aspect of that. And then the G stands for give. How could you give and edutain your audience without giving too much and getting sucked dry? So we go through that, and it helps them alleviate some overwhelm. Every week on my Instagram, I'm very active on Instagram, I do a Tune In Tuesday. Now, in the beginning of being, a personality and putting myself out on videos and whatnot, my parents and my family would make fun of me. And, my mom is very old school. Well, you didn't have your hands clasped and your ankles weren't crossed. And you said, with that being said, and probably 50 times. And I still trudged through, but my Tune In Tuesdays were my way of practicing because it was very simple. I invited either a guest marketing expert, which Ethan, I would love to have you prior to your book launch, or a guest mindfulness expert. And it was very simple. All I had to do was say hello, happy Tuesday, and introduce them, and basically ask a series of 3 questions. And there went my hour a week of, Instagram lives plus collaborating. So it knocked off a lot of points on my Instagram to-do list, and it wasn't overwhelming. It was so easy and simple. So and I've been doing it for a year, and it's very consistent. 12 o'clock every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday at Robin Sierra. And what that does is it welcomes their community into mine as well. So there was a lot of growth behind that, and a lot of, underwhelm, if you will. And that's helped my clients a lot. And they've done it with their own twist. They recreated it with their own twist. And then the I stands for interact. So I'm very big into networking and how do you interact without, getting energetically exhausted. I'm huge into LinkedIn networking, and I have an outline. I have a script. I automate my messages. I did hire a service to do that for me. So I literally don't even look at the accounts. Tomorrow, I designate 2 days to networking. And usually for me, it's Mondays and Wednesdays. Tomorrow, I have 10 calls lined up back to back to back, 20-minute complimentary calls. It's all streamlined. I literally don't do anything. Tomorrow morning, I will look at all their profiles, hop on the call, introduce myself, give them the outline, and we go through, boom, boom, boom. They automatically get filed into my sales CRM. Then they automatically get filed into like my email CRM. So in the future, yeah, super streamlined, underwhelmed. It's like, and it, it doesn't exhaust me, if that makes sense. In the beginning, I didn't have 10 calls at once. I started with like 4, but as I got better, like the practice, and this is what I embed in my clients, that practice and stepping out of your comfort zone and continually pushing yourself and doing it is really where the magic happens. And then lastly, the C stands for consistency. And I'm very big into consistency. Like I said, Mondays and Wednesdays are my networking days. Tuesdays are my, go live on Instagram days. Thursdays, I clear out. I do a little personal exercises in the morning, and then I dedicate to my work and creating content. Fridays, again, creating content. So I'm very regimented and very consistent in a lot of ways. And it's like a TV show, I believe in the attraction method, and consistency is important when you're attracting, because people know where to find you, when to find you, like a TV show. Every Tuesday, your favorite show comes on, 9:00, you sit in front of that TV. So you're creating communities. So that is, how I help the mindset tool that I like with my own creative mindset tool, if you will, magic, that I incorporate with my clients. And then to get rid of their fear. I mean, first thing is to identify the fear. There's, where is the fear coming from? What is the fear? And there's either fear of being on the camera, if there's fear of being judged, fear of, there's so many different fears that people embody. And where is that fear coming from? And how can we create content and move forward to peel layers away so that you eventually could become, your authentic self? Because like, I think it was, actually, I do have it, Thorin Klosowski. I'm going to give him credit, even though I don't know how to say it. But there was a quote that really stuck with me. I have it on my desk, actually. We tend to stifle our authentic selves to fit in without even realizing it. And doing so suppresses our creativity and ingenuity, if I can say that word.
Ingenuity.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm an English major. See, unapologetically myself, and self-awareness. And self-awareness. And it's true. Like when you want to impress other people and you're so worried about what people will think about you, you become somebody you're not. Right. So, I am getting in front of 300 people on Saturday and doing a dance for my local Dancing with the Celebrity Stars. And the song is This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. But it's taking me a lot to do this.
Yeah.
But I'm going to block everybody out and pretend that they're all chicken fingers or candy canes, because that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love your spirit. And I don't know if you guys saw when you registered, everybody had a portrait, and Robin's portrait was something new that she had. And I just love it because I feel like it's like her 7-year-old self coming out.
It is. It really, really is.
Yeah. Which is that 7-year-old self is in all of us. And I just love that that you're celebrating that and allowing yourself to shine. And it's true that our individuality is where it's at. And even if we're different from other people, I think they'd much rather see who we are actually than us just mirror them, just be who they are. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. Okay. We are running out of time, and I really want to do these visualization exercises. So I am going to ask you guys to take a second, if you would, all of our panelists, and please go ahead and add your contact information in here in case people have to go. I want them to be able to reach you. There are a lot of comments. Michael, thank you for sharing the notes on Robin's magic. That's awesome. I lost my train of thought. So, panelists, please put your your contact information in there so people can reach out. I will add mine as well. And then we are going to take some time for Ethan to walk us through that visualization exercise. And we also have an amazing tapping exercise Amy V. Cooper has for us. I think we're going to be running too late, but what she is willing to do is actually create a recording, which she said is not quite as powerful as having you guys kind of make some comments about what you need to tap around. But perhaps, I don't know, Amy, you could even say, make some suggestions here and people could give you some feedback for what you could do in your recording. Is there anything you want to say to that right now? I know that's
Yes.
to throw in there, but.
Yes, I would love it if everyone can go to the chat and click on the to drop down and drop it down to everyone and just let me know what has been blocking you. What are the negative stories that have been going through your head? Where is your mindset? What have you been focused on? And that will help me really personalize this tapping for everyone, and we'll send it out to you this week.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's a big gift. I don't know if you guys are not familiar with tapping. It's really powerful and really helpful. So I think you guys should be on the lookout for that email. It'll come from Juliet at APA. Okay, Ethan, would you like to take us on your visualization ride?
All right, let's do this.
Okay.
And first of all, I want to just tell the other panelists, like, I love your exercises that we just went through. You guys shared some gems. So people in the audience, man, I hope you guys are soaking this up. This is pure gold. So thank you guys for sharing that. All right. So visualization. First of all, I like I think it was Amy who was talking about how she expresses gratitude, but she does it. She's speaking about the future, but in past tense. There's something very, very powerful about that. And we have the ability to design our lives. Part of it is breaking the mold of don't think about past, present, future. Everything is now. You just attract it to you. So that's what we're going to do in this exercise. And this is going to be a very abbreviated version of it because I want to respect everyone's time. But what we're going to do is if everyone could grab a piece of paper, any piece of paper that's laying around, and I want you to draw this chart. Draw one line down the middle of the piece of paper and then 2 lines going across. So it forms a grid of 6. And I'll make this bigger here. So I just put it up on my screen here. So in one box, you're going to write the word do. The next box, write the word be. And then in the next box, have/keep. And then in the next box, learn. And then the last 2 are going to be change and give. And what I want you to do is in that do quadrant, I want you to write down things that you want to do in this lifetime. And I want you to write fast, like just let it flow freely. Anything that comes to mind. Don't judge your thoughts about, oh, what would this person think if I put this or that? What do you want to do in life? Do you want to visit every wonder of the world? Do you want to get on every roller coaster? Do you want to do an ayahuasca retreat? Do you want to go skydiving? Let your imagination run wild. Anything that you want to do, write it down in the do box. And then next, what are some things that you want to be? For example, do you want to be a best-selling author? Do you want to be a movie star? Do you want to be the world's most highest paid photographer? You want to be a billionaire? Think in terms of titles. I want to be this. What are some ways you want other people to describe you? She's a so-and-so. He's a so-and-so. Write down as many words as possible in the be box. Next, what are some things that you want to have or keep in your life? These can be material items. And again, don't be ashamed. Don't judge your responses. What do you want to have in life? Do you want a private jet? Do you want to own your own island? Do you want a fleet of exotic cars? Or it could be that maybe you want to have more children, or you just want to have peace in life, or maybe you want 6-pack abs. Write down anything that you want to have in the have or keep box, because maybe you already have something and you want to make sure you hold on to that thing. So put that in the keep section also. In the next box, what are some things that you want to learn? in life. Maybe you want to learn a new language. Maybe you want to get your pilot's license, learn how to fly a plane. Maybe you want to learn how to code an app. Anything you want to learn in life, even if you think it might be slightly cool to just know it. Like think about the Matrix, like, oh, I know Kung Fu. Like just write it down in this box. Dream big. In the next box, what are some things you want to change? Change about yourself, change about your community, change about the world. Write down any changes that you want to make in this box. And in the last box, what are some things that you want to give? Maybe you have a goal of donating $1 million to your favorite charity, or building a school in a developing country. Or maybe you want to share your knowledge with others by giving it away and teaching others. Write down everything that comes to your mind in the give box. And I went through this really quickly because I want you to write really, really quickly and just not judge your thoughts and judge your responses. But this is just step one. The next thing we're going to do is take what you wrote in each of these boxes and then go to Google Images and just type it in there. And you're going to find an image that most closely represents that thing that you want, or that, the place you want to go, the things you want to do. Find an image for everything you wrote on this paper and say, you can do it I like to do this on my phone. Save it to your camera roll in your phone. And then the final step is you're going to go into that photo album, put all of these images that are in a photo album, and then create a slideshow. You're going to create your own vision movie. What we're doing here is NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. You're programming your own brain by creating a movie of your life in the future and making it reality, because your brain has a hard time distinguishing fact from fiction. And there's evidence of this. Have you ever sat in a movie and have you ever cried over a character in a movie, even though you know that it's fiction? I mean, I've done it. Like we get emotional we're really sitting in a room just looking at a screen. So why do we feel those emotions? It's because our brain has a hard time separating the two. So what you want to do is create a movie of your life, a movie that makes you feel amazing, because you know these things are coming and you're thankful for them in advance. Once you have that vision movie, watch it every single day. Watch it as often as you can. Even just have it playing in the background so that it can be feeding your subconscious. Have it playing while you're brushing your teeth. When you go to bed, just always have your vision moving playing, because it starts to get baked into your subconscious. Another thing I like to do is if you have an Apple Watch or some type of a smart watch, you can put photos on there as your background and take your vision. So this is the evolution of a vision board, right? I'm sure most people have heard of a vision board. Well, this is the next step. So now you have those images that are in your vision movie. You put them on your Apple Watch, and every time I look at my wrist, I'm reminded of something that is coming in my future. And guys, I tell you, so many times I just see things materialize in my life. It might be 6 months after I put it in my vision movie. It might be a year later. Don't worry about the time frame. Just let it happen. Let it manifest in your life, because what you're doing is you're programming your subconscious, because your subconscious is what creates the world. We are not, even though people on this call are photographers, you yourself, you're not a camera. You're actually more like a projector. Your universe, your world around you is what you're projecting out. And your lenses determine how you see the world and the world that you create. And the great thing about that is you have the ability to change it and design the world into whatever you want it to be. I mean, think about this. If you and I were in the car together and we're driving through a small town, and let's say I'm hungry, I'm probably going to see like every restaurant because I'm hungry and I'm looking for food. You might be looking for souvenirs. So you're going to notice all the souvenir shops. By the time we drive through that town, you and I saw completely different towns because we were paying attention to different things. So that's what I mean when I say your lens, you're projecting your own reality, and you can make this life whatever you want it to be. So take this vision exercise with you, apply it. And your vision movie is something that constantly evolves. I want to see it grow and grow and change. And as you get things that once they come to life, you might take that image out and replace it with a new image. So your vision movie is always evolving as you create the life of your dreams.
This is awesome. And you guys, this is in Ethan's book, this exercise. And I want to tell you, Ethan, I went ahead and put together my first movie, my first vision movie, and I'm kind of obsessed with it.
That's so awesome.
I love it so much. And I don't know why it's never occurred to me or any of us to do this before, because we're all visual people. And to be able to go through and collect images, whether they're your own images that you are inspired to do, create more work like that, or images that you aspire to shoot like, or images of that car that you really want, or that handbag that you really want, or whatever it is. I mean, to be able to put those beautiful vacations and all of these things that move you, and then you set it to music, and then you let the iPhoto turn it into a slideshow movie and put it to music, and suddenly it's so powerful. If you guys don't do this, I'm going to be mad. All for nothing if you don't do this.
Isn't that a great feeling to watch your movie? Like, can you? It's hard to describe how you feel when you're watching that movie. It's so exciting.
It really is.
I think this is also such a great exercise on getting clear about what you want. A lot of us know what we don't want, and we know that we want something different, but we don't really take the time to define what it is that we want. And I love this so much, Ethan. Everyone, DM Ethan your movies.
Yes, I want to see them. Yeah.
This is so powerful, and I think that the more specific we can be with what we want, the faster it's going to come to us. I have so many clients who struggle with that. You know, who are your top 10 dream clients? They're like, I don't know. I just want to shoot anything. But if you don't know who they are, you can't really position yourself to that thing to grow into that space.
Put them in your movie.
Don't have that knowledge.
Yeah. Put those dream clients in your movie.
Yes, absolutely. Put that Gucci logo in there.
That's right.
I love it. So cool. Thank you so much. All right, guys, we are, oh my gosh, an hour and a half into this. I think we better wrap up. As much as I want to do the tapping exercise, I know we've kept you here longer than you were probably imagining you'd be here. I am just going to ask one last question to everybody as we kind of sign off. If you want to stick around for this, I've asked everyone to have an answer to this. It's basically 1 or 2 sentences. If you could only give one piece of advice about career mindset elevation, what would it be? Who wants to go first? Michael, you're up. Sorry.
Quite right. Well, I see that James is like, keep going, keep going. So I think that the key thing for shifting your mindset, I think, is everybody's, I think, kind of touched on this a little bit, is ask if this is what you're doing, what you truly want to be doing. Does this bring joy from you as you're acting in it? If it's just the grind and the groundwork, it may be time to rethink it and really get connected with who you are and why you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
That's it.
Ethan, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. So get comfortable being uncomfortable. Constantly surround yourself with people who are doing a little bit better than you in whatever it is that you want to do. And it can feel, instead of trying to be like the big fish in the pond, like I like to get in rooms where I feel inadequate because I'm looking at somebody who's like, for example, with EO. So EO is Entrepreneurs Organization. The minimum requirement to get in EO is you have to have a business that does at least $1 million a year in revenue. When I first heard about EO, I was like, I had nowhere near $1 million in revenue. And I was thinking like, whoa, like, and one of my friends told me about it and he was doing that much. And I was like, oh man, now if he's doing it, I can do it. Remember, that was one of the principles. So I got into the accelerator program that helps you grow your business to that $1 million a year mark. And so that starts to get normalized. And now I'm around people who have bigger businesses. And so I just always want to be around people who are doing a little bit better so I can see it that way it's real. Sometimes if people are too far out, like if I were just hanging around billionaires, I might feel too inadequate. So like just like one or two rungs up above me, and then I surround myself in those environments and just constantly level up that way.
Awesome. Great advice. Thank you. Robin?
Yeah, so I am very big into energy and energy upgrades, energy infusions. So, whatever that may be or mean to you, for me personally, it is very much, a lot of times, even as entrepreneurs, we deplete ourselves, we spread ourselves thin. We, as creatives, we want to do it all. And yeah, I'm very much like that as well. So I incorporate, when I'm in that creative ether space, I incorporate very much grounding. So I do a lot of opposites attract opposites. I incorporate a lot of grounding exercises. Or if I'm looking to excel and energetically upgrade, I kind of work on my fire and basically firing up my like chakras and my sacral chakra, because I know that's where my fire is coming from. So I do a lot of energy work in that way and awareness. So that's been super, super beneficial in a lot of ways. And I feel that energetic upgrade and energetic infusion and creating those communities where you feel as though you are being energetically infused and empowered to be the best you, then that's where I would always recommend gravitating towards.
Awesome. Will you do me a favor in the chat, give an example of a grounding energy exercise and a getting your energy up, like a quick, so that people can understand a little bit further?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, great. And Amy, your last piece of advice.
Yeah, if you want to change your mindset, change your mindset. Notice what you're thinking and ask yourself, what is a better thought? And again, set intentions, get out of your bubble. And I honestly think, Darcie, Robin, and I, and maybe everyone on this panel, we could have a whole nother panel just on that mind-body connection, and using your body to change your mindset is really powerful.
Yeah. Get up and do some jumping jacks, or turn on the music and dance, right?
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. I'm going to give my little last thing here. I would say create a group of peers that meet up on a regular basis. Community is a mindset game changer. Find your people. And like Ethan said, find the next level people and surround yourself with them. Okay, you guys, I can't thank you enough. How cool has this conversation been? It is amazing. I just want to I urge you all to find everybody on this panel and follow them on their social media, or take a look at their offerings on their websites. I know I want to surround myself with these people and learn from them. So I hope you guys will do the same. So yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to add, for anybody who's watching this later, since there's a lot of things that are happening in the chat, if you email me at executivedirector@apanational.org, I will send you the links that you'll need to watch this later, or get some of that other information, because there's so many little nuggets that would be really helpful. And anybody still watching, you can hit the chat button and save everything that's in there. But really dream big.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Juliet, thank you so much for allowing us to come together and give this panel today.
Thank you to the panelists. This is just wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, APA.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye,
Your
guys.
community.
That's right. Have a great evening, all.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.